Guys, welcome to my review for Sunrise on the Reaping by Susan Collins. So, I'm a pretty big Hunger Games fan. I read the main 3 books in 6th grade. I read the first prequel when it came out, and then I finally read the second prequel just a few weeks ago when it came out. I actually ended up going to a midnight release for it, so that was quite exciting. But to get into the book's plot and the development, what I especially loved about this book was its character development, and that's a prominent feature of all Hunger Games books. It's the development. We learn to love these characters, and then they're slowly but steadily killed off before our eyes. And that's one of the devastating parts of the Hunger Games that makes it so good. In this book, it follows the story of Haymitch Abernathy, which, big fans of the series will know that in the main trilogy, that's the mentor for Katniss, our main character in the trilogy. So, of course, this is a prequel to that trilogy. And so it feels like if you've read the trilogy and you've also read the first prequel, then you'll know that the first prequel was really different from the trilogy. It was like night and day, because the development that happened over the course of the Nation Panem's history, a lot is developed and a lot occurs that changes the Hunger Games for better or for worse. But reading this book, I found that it was mostly the same situations as it was in the modern trilogy, the Katniss trilogy. So we're obviously introduced to Haymitch pretty early on in the story, and he has a lover from the Covey who played a very prominent role in the first prequel with the main character, one of the main characters of that book, also loving a girl from the Covey. But that was a big plot throughout the book, because as Haymitch is transported to the Capitol, and then to the Games, and then to his fate after the Games, and of course we know that he is the victor of the Games because he is the mentor in the future trilogy. But a big plot throughout the book is, how do his actions affect the people that he left behind at home? How does his actions affect his brother Sid and his mother and his girlfriend? And Haymitch is a rebellious sort. He brews white liquor for a living, which is illegal in Panem. So he's very rebellious. He doesn't really follow the rules, and that leads him to, once he's in a position where he can enact change, that's his priority, that's his largest goal. And him having to balance that constant yearn to rebel against the Capitol. And a big quote from this book is, will not let them, or it's something like, will not let them use our blood to paint their posters. Also, when you've been set up to lose everything you love, what is there left to fight for? That's some of the back of the book. So, it's a big part of the theme, the moral in this story is your actions have consequences. Haymitch tries to rebel against the Capitol's regime, but he finds that he can't bear the consequences. And that's a big thing. That's a big theme throughout the series. And many Hunger Games books, it's, what do we trade for the greater good? And, Haymitch meets a lot of different people along his journey, and even meets some familiar faces that we recognize from the Katniss trilogy. But it's really not the same, because Haymitch is going into this without a mentor, and he emerges victor. He beats the odds, and following the story of how he beats the odds, when we see him as a drunk and really a liability in the Katniss trilogy, how he won the games, especially with a quarter quell where there were double the usual number of contestants. So it's a really interesting story. It's got a lot of twists and turns, and it's really, really ingenious. And another big theme is that things aren't always as they seem. Throughout the book, there are these glorious, beautiful, different images that are described to us, and then immediately they're twisted into something dark and gruesome. And that's very disturbing. That's a very disturbing part of the story, because, it's realistic. Lots of times in nature, things look pretty, so you let down your guard, and then that's when they pounce. So it's always great to have an awareness of that. And this book truly, truly, forces you to have an awareness that things are not always as they seem. So I definitely love this book. There were a few things that I think that the author could have done differently to improve upon the book, but that's neither here nor there. So I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was a really good book overall, but I did feel like it slipped in a few parts where it could have been better. But overall, really, really great book. So let's put a bookmark in it for now, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.